Having a virus is one of the most scary things that can happen to someone like me that makes their living actually using computers and on the internet. I don't have another job to fall back on. If something happens with my computer, I have to fix it immediately or I start losing work. That's the thing. And you never know. I mean, I do backup, but not enough backup to where nothing would get lost at any given time if my computer would go down. Viruses are scary, especially the kind that could possibly be data information stealing. Like if you can get identity stolen, for instance, bank numbers and credit card numbers and passwords and all of that stuff. Scary time that we live in. So virus horror stories, right up my alley with fearful as hell. We're gonna watch one or two stories today by Spooked about viruses. Make sure to subscribe to him, guys, and let's get into this reaction.
My name is Emily, and so that this story makes sense, I have to mention that I live in a single-person dorm at my university, where I study computer science. But anyway, on with what happened.
I went to school for
computer science. It all started
too.
when I noticed an email in my student inbox. There was no subject to the email, but there was written, "Open me now," in all caps, followed by a link. Now, I should have been smarter in that moment, and just ignored the clear red flags. But I was both naive and curious enough to click on the link.
Oh my god.
I clicked the link and downloaded some files on my desktop. The download was so fast, I couldn't even cancel it.
That's how it happens.
My computer fan started making more and more noise though. I immediately deleted all the files I had downloaded from that email. And that said, nothing else happened. There were no sketchy pop-ups or other things associated with viruses, so I just thought nothing of it.
No, you gotta run a scan, man.
Though a couple weeks later, I get another email from the same sender as before.
Keyloggers and all
this time,
kind of stuff,
there was a video attached to the message. I clicked on the email, and in all caps was written,
Thanks for the content, Emily. Uh-oh.
I opened the video and was horrified to see what appeared to be a recording of me from my webcam of the previous days. In that recording, I was doing some rather embarrassing stuff that I won't talk about here. But I realized someone now had access to my webcam, or other things I might not know about on my computer.
Oh my god,
I immediately closed my computer and gathered my thoughts. The message in the email reading, "Thanks for the content," meant whoever was behind all this was either a pervert trying to scare me, or worse, blackmail me by posting the video on social media.
That's what I'm thinking.
I decided either way, the best way to go about this was to ignore everything coming from the person. So I did a complete reboot of the computer and covered my webcam.
Called the police?
I also blocked the email address. From that point on, it was over for the person to reach me or get any type of access to my computer. One night though, I was cleaning under my bed when I heard something jiggling in the door lock. It was really silent that night, so I could hear everything distinctly. It was like someone was jamming in some sort of wire.
Remember, this was a dorm. Oh, they were trying to break in.
This was definitely not a friend or anyone I knew. I'm also a relatively small girl, so I don't think confronting whoever was trying to get into my room would be a good idea. I started panicking and quickly hid under my bed, because I was already halfway under the bed. Then the door suddenly swings open. I see the person's footsteps right in front of me make their way into the room, closing the door behind them. Judging by their pants, it was definitely a man. Then he calls my name in this slow but creepy voice.
Oh my god.
The room was so dark, so it could have been as if I was out for dinner or something.
Can you imagine?
But I was still freaking out nonetheless. I was practically sure this was the guy who hacked my webcam.
If they're crazy enough to come in, they would look under the bed.
And picking different objects up, he suddenly stops midway, just a couple feet away from my bed.
Like
my
he
room
just
was
thought
a
about
mess,
it?
So I had a couple of clothes scattered on the floor. You probably know where this is going.
Oh no.
He bends down and picks up my underwear, and I could hear him sniffing loudly as he puts the underwear close to his face.
What a sick
At this point, my fight or flight was
man.
kicking in even more, as this guy was even more twisted than I expected.
If you're in a dorm,
then he
can
sits
you
on my
start
bed for a couple of minutes, and I don't want to get into the details of what he was doing, both because I don't want to describe it, and I don't think you want to hear about it.
That's horrible.
Then, after about, I'd say, 5 terrifying minutes, he gets off the bed, to the door, and leaves. I immediately called campus security and told them everything that happened, even the emails. They were pretty cooperative, and the next day we looked over the security camera footage and found that it was a student at the university.
Oh.
I knew him from one of my computer science classes.
Busted.
We never really talked.
Put that son of a gun under the jail.
Him looking at me quite obsessively during lectures. Since what happened, he got expelled within a couple of weeks.
Thank
and
goodness.
That made me pretty relieved.
Should be arrested.
Considering if I hadn't gone to hide under my bed on that night, something serious could have happened.
That kind of man needs to be arrested before he hurts somebody. Expelled ain't enough.
To me a couple of months ago, and it's a story that needs more exposure.
Okay.
Also, for this story to make sense, I have to mention that I'm black.
Alright.
Beyond that, I'm also a history teacher at a local high school.
Okay.
And I run a blog forum online that discusses black politics and celebrates stories of other African Americans and their day-to-day struggles being black in the US. One evening, I was writing an article on my computer when I received a strange email in my teacher's email inbox. It was an email about my blog forum, which by itself was weird because I kept my blog a secret from anyone at school.
Okay.
So I had a different email address linked to the blog if readers wanted to contact me.
Maybe.
The email said my blog had been nominated for some sort of award. There was a link to what I guessed to be their website. So foolishly, I clicked on it. As soon as I did, something started downloading on my browser.
That's how it happens.
It was too late.
It makes me crazy to think about it.
I started getting these error pop-ups,
to me, you know?
but I couldn't click on them because my sensor wouldn't respond.
Remember the pop-up viruses?
My laptop then started making noise and heating up, so I thought turning it off and on again would be the best option.
Dude.
I did that, and nothing really changed.
Right.
Except my background was changed to what looked to be an ominous-looking red logo with a white cross in the middle. I didn't know or care who was behind this, so I just went to bed and decided to bring it to the Geek Squad the next day. I did, and they managed to set my computer back to normal. I thanked them and went back home. However, when I got home, I noticed something was tagged on my fence.
Okay.
I looked closer. I noticed it was that same logo, but this time it was tagged on my fence.
You already knew where you were. Wow.
I immediately went inside. I looked up on the internet what the hell this symbol was.
Yeah.
I quickly learned that it represented a white supremacy cult, or more commonly known as the KKK.
That's horrible.
It all made sense now as to why I was the one being targeted.
Right.
But the scariest part was that they somehow managed to know where I lived. Then I started getting increasingly scared as I realized the other, more personal information they could have extracted from my computer.
They could just figure out.
Upon doing some more research, I found that getting this symbol tagged on your fence is the sign that people from the cyber cult would come back to the same house later, and my house would face some sort of attacks in the future.
Oh my gosh.
I then read something that sent shivers down my spine.
Time to move!
In 2009, a black woman that had noticed the sign tagged on her wall was gone missing a couple of days later.
Right.
I had read enough and decided to pack my stuff and leave to go live at my brother's, who lived just out of town. I also took the blog down completely for me and my family's safety. A month later, I drove back to my house just to check the mail. There was an envelope that had the same symbol stamped onto it. I opened the envelope and pulled out a picture. It was a Photoshop picture of me hung by the neck from a tree. I turned the photo around and read something that was somehow both comforting yet horrifying. Good slave, followed by my first and last name, was written on the back. I kept the picture in case I could use it as evidence for the police in the future. But I wasn't too keen on telling the police, at risk of being in danger again. Since then, I moved to a different city and stayed on edge for other forms of offense. Looking back, I don't know how they got my school email, but either way, it didn't matter.
A gun in my house.
I just didn't want to get involved in any of this.
Wow, that's horrifying, man. Hate crimes are so stupid because they're just senseless and moronic. You know, targeting somebody like that is just, even if it's just to scare them, is so ridiculously outlandish. And not even telling the police, like, you think that you might be exposed just by actually reporting it. I would have done the same thing though. If I knew if my family was being targeted here, I knew it, I'd probably move, you know. I think I would. And, you know, I know how to protect myself, but it really all depends. You're not as crazy as the people that are threatening you, right? That's what it comes down to. Whew, y'all be safe out there, guys. Love y'all. Make sure to check Spooked out. Very, very awesome content creator, as well as some other reaction videos that I've done by Spooked. Thanks so much for watching. As always, this is Zueljin signing off. We'll see you next time.